Hello, greetings, and good morning. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name's Murph, and I will be your host today, as I will be every day that I'm doing this. Anyways, today we're doing a look back at a classic rock album. This one goes back to 1983, features one of my group of seven. I remember when this first came out. My friend John had gone to the store on the way to my house and bought the album and says, "Take a look at this, man. Can you believe this? They went and got a new vocalist, and can you believe it's Ian Gillan? Black Sabbath and Ian Gillan." I thought, how's that going to blend? I just didn't see it really blending. I wasn't a big Deep Purple fan at the time. They were a band that's grown on me later, but at that time, I wasn't a huge fan of them, and I just couldn't see how Black Sabbath could do it. I thought, look at this album cover, man. It's almost like an Exorcist cover, except for, it's obviously a baby they'd taken a picture of and painted it red and then put these early Photoshop, they painted claws and teeth on them just to give them things. Then later, since that time, we found out that the guy who done Speak of the Devil or did the album cover for Speak of the Devil for Ozzy was asked to do the cover for this too, and I guess he felt a little bit of a conflict, so he gave them this, figuring they wouldn't take it, but they did, So anyways, and the other reason that Ian Gillan, when they decided to do this, they didn't think that this was going to be a Black Sabbath album. They didn't actually know what it was going to be, but the record label insisted on it being a Black Sabbath album, and there you go. The rest is history. Okay, so anyways, this album was released August the 7th, 1983. Was done at Manor Studio in Cherwell, Oxfordshire, England. On the label was Vertigo. Produced by Black Sabbath and Robin Black. Okay, so anyways, by this time, Sabbath had taken on Don Arden as their kind of manager. He's the father of Sharon Arden, which is Ozzy's wife. So there's a lot of kind of intermarriage here, right? And but there was a few other guys that before Ian Gillan, and he was actually the guy who suggested Ian Gillan. But there was a few other guys who they had thought about asking, like Robert Plant and David Coverdale were two of the names. Also, they had a guy who had applied called Michael Bolton, and he, of course, was an unknown at that point in time. Of course, the record company, like I said, insisted on it, calling it a Black Sabbath album. So when the album was finally done and produced and ready to go, Ian Gillan looked at this thing and he said I almost puked. He thought it was so disgusting, and Bill Ward didn't like it. None of them liked it, but Tony Iommi accepted it. He thought it was pretty cool. To be honest with you, I think he had the right insight. I didn't think much of it when I first saw it, but it's kind of grown on me. I kind of like it. It's iconic. It's won some awards for worst album cover for a heavy metal band. And, of course, Rolling Stone hates it, but what do they like, really? The fact I actually look at the Rolling Stone as when they don't like something, that's usually a good indication I should go buy it. So anyways, this band features three members of the original Black Sabbath: Tony Iommi on guitars, Geezer Butler on bass, and Bill Ward on drums. Bill returns after not playing on the Mob Rules. He had some personal issues and came back for this album, but personal issues reared their ugly head again, and so he was off. And he's actually, to my knowledge, has never played on another Sabbath album. Unfortunately, because I really like Bill Ward. I think his drumming is essential to Black Sabbath. But they've gotten other drummers who have been maybe a little different than Bill, but fit in very well. So anyways, and then, of course, Ian Gillan was on vocals, and they've, of course, longtime keyboardist guy they used quite a bit was Jeff Nichols, was also featured on this album. Okay, so the tracks on this album, there's 9 tracks in total. The overall feel of this album is one of it's a very emotional, heavy album. Great screaming vocals, Fantastic guitar riffing. The bass and the drums give this kind of mood of fatalism about them. And they're the rhythm section is very powerful here. It's very forefront. It's almost like they cranked up the bass and the drums just for this album. Anyways, the first song, Trashed, was the first song I ever heard. It was also my favorite initially. It kind of reminds me, because it starts out in a crunching kind of heavy guitar and fast pace, and it kind of reminds me of Neon Nights off of Heaven and Hell, or Turn Up the Night on The Mob Rules, like the same kind of melodic, heavy guitar and drums. It was actually Bill Ward's first song back with the band, and he plays very well on this. Heavy drums. The guitars are screaming, the solos, like just screaming right out of the gate, and of course, right off the bat, Gillan's right in there screaming up a storm. I like to think of him as a screamer as opposed to somebody like Steve Tyler from Aerosmith, who I think of more as a screecher. One is good, one not so good. Okay. The second song is an instrumental. It's a short piece called Stonehenge. It's kind of an eerie and murky instrumental. They used a bottle, which they dropped into water to make some of the sound effects on this song. And then right at the end, you get this kind of a heartbeat. So it's almost like the birth of this guy here. But anyways, that heartbeat part kind of reminds me of the heartbeat on the Dark Side of the Moon. The third song, Disturbing the Priest, probably is over time my favorite song on this album. It stood up well. Great crashing song, lots of screaming. He does more screaming on this song, and that laugh, that evil laugh, to create the atmosphere. It's just incredible. The song is just, I love it. And the drums, of course, of Gain are very heavy. The whole bass and drums and guitar are all heavy on this particular song. And the lyrics, of course, I guess they were, for lack of better term, pissing off the priests in the temple nearby, and so they decided to write a song about them. Did a good job. The next song is just another little instrumental piece called The Dark. It's kind of has this kind of dungeony feel to it that moves right into Zero the Hero, which is the fifth track on the album. The thing I like about Zero the Hero, it's a kind of melodic, kind of a melodic, heavy guitar, bass, drum song that also it sounds like he's using some kind of a bell effect on his guitar. I'm not quite sure how he achieved it, but it occurs through most of the song. Okay, the next song out is on I believe this was on the second side, on the vinyl. Here it's just a CD, but on the vinyl it was Digital Bitch, another very heavy song. Lots of guitar soloing on this as well. It's punctuated by guitar solos, like there seems to be one every minute or so. The vocals are very good. Another screaming, laughing type of song for Ian Gillan. But it's also the shortest. I believe it's the shortest song on the album. I think they originally had intended that it might be the single, but I don't know how you can have a single called Digital Bitch. Anyways, the next song is title track called Born Again. It starts out with a heavy bass riff and drum creating this kind of a melancholy, sad feeling to the song. To me, it's the song. I think it's Ian Gillan's best vocal part on this album. He does better screaming on some of the other songs, but the vocal part is really good. Again, it's another moody kind of very moody guitar soloing. Like, it just creates this whole atmosphere of a melancholy atmosphere. The next song is almost completely opposite. It's Hotline. Hotline gives this kind of it kind of reminds me of a Deep Purple song. Of the songs on the album, it's the one that most reminds me of a Deep Purple track. It's a bit heavier metallically than a lot of Deep Purple. Like, Deep Purple had a lot of hard stuff, but not necessarily metallic sounding, and this is a little bit more of that. It's a crunching pace from the beginning. This very menacing song with a lot of screaming on it. Like, it just, I know that screaming part might sound unattractive to people who say, why would you want to listen to a song that's just screaming? But it's the way in which he screams. It creates the whole effect of the song, and he does it a lot because a lot of the songs are dark and evil sounding. The last song on the album is Keep It Warm. Heavy guitars and drum riffs. How do you say this? But it's a more of an upbeat Sabbath song. That really doesn't really make any sense, but it's a little bit more light than the other songs. The other songs are dark and dingy, and this one's a little bit more of a light song. Probably kind of a love song too, even though it's heavier. Which is not something you see a lot of from Sabbath, but this particular song is a good one, you know. And again, another great vocal by Ian Gillan. I can't say enough about his vocals on this album. I just think that his vocals and Iommi's guitar riffs and the rhythm section just doing its thing really make this an album. So to me, there's no bad tracks on this album. I mean, there's a couple of small instrumentals, but they're tastefully done, and they add to the song coming after them. I think they're almost like a front, like Van Halen's Eruption for You Really Got Me. It's kind of that kind of feel for it. So excellent album. Probably one of my 25 or so top favorites albums of all time. Definitely in my top 2 or 3, probably my third best favorite album by Black Sabbath. And Ian Gillan, he won me over on this, and I started listening for more of his stuff because I really enjoyed his voice quite a bit. Anyways, there you have it. The album Born Again by Black Sabbath, a classic from 1983. Coming up this week, we'll also be doing, this weekend anyways, we'll be doing another look back at a classic album, and then I'm also going to do my top 10 Genesis songs, my top 10 favorite Genesis songs. I've been waiting to do this all week. I look forward to it. I think it'll be a pretty difficult one to put together because Genesis has so much stuff, at least early on and in the 70s, and not so much in the 80s, and that I kind of got away from them. Although there's the odd song that I don't mind. But for the most part, it's definitely going to be, a hard task to put 10 Genesis songs and leave some out of there. There's going to be some really, really strong songs that don't make this top 10 list. But we'll do some honorable mentions as well. Next week, we have some more look backs. And I'll also be doing the end of the month. November will be the end of the month. I'm going to do my new material collectibles haul that I started with the 3-part series I did last month. But now I'm going to do it once a month. At the end of every month, I will do a collectibles haul. And anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it at the bottom of the screen. If you want me to do more stuff and you're interested in seeing me more often, then hit the subscribe. And I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And so it's Prog Monster signing off, and have a great day.